Welcome, 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 and for you at the back, welcome. Yes, it is Revolution Radio Studio A. This is Planet Collingwood, tainting loose since 2015. My name is Monty Dean, and it's been 6 hours and 6 days and 22 hours. What a week that was. It's been long, and I think something's happened. We'll get to that in a moment. Big thank you to Why Not and Co for the last 2 hours. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, go to freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio and donate what you can. Just click on the Patreon button there and share a couple of shekels, a yuan or two, if you're lucky enough to have a ruble. Hey, see what I'm doing there? We don't accept children, not again. No. And while you're at the website, pop into the merchandising, and there's caps and T-shirts and onesies for the little ones, and now mugs, which I keep forgetting to contact management about putting out the Planet Collingwood mug. So when you can drink coffee or water and spit out your drink when I say something funny onto your screen. And coming soon would be the Planet Collingwood sneeze guard for said devices. See how that works there. And then pop into the chat room because like-minded, like-hearted, just like people. They're great. And with 3 studios going, you have no idea what people are talking about. It's schizophrenia on crack. It's wonderful. We're 100% listener supported, 100% volunteer, just 100%. And until someone says otherwise, we're the longest running crowdfunding radio station on the planet today. Or not. I'm not sure. It sounds good. It rolls off the tongue. Now, Planet Collingwood is an attempted comedy show. I'm just, keeping it real. However, I've got a couple of usual suspects that I've let out of the basement, and I've given them an orange, and they're ready to go hit the ground running. From New South Wales, our Sydney correspondent, it's important. He's only got one name. Cortek, how are you?
G'day, can you hear me?
Yes.
Off to a running start then.
Yeah, you're keeping up vibe, G him up a little bit. I really have to. I think we have to stop with the 12th man references because even Australians are going, "What the hell are you talking about?" And our Canadian correspondent in Costa Rica, because he left, he's in Costa. South American correspondent for Planet Collingwood. Please welcome back Bruce MacDonald. Bruce, how be thee?
I'm good, Monty. Technically, South America begins at Colombia.
Central America, then?
Yeah, I'm in Central America, the second last southern nation in Central America.
You sound a little bit quiet, and also you can see South America from where you live. Let's be fair.
Well, if I stand up on a big hill, yeah, I can see it, no problem.
Yeah. Also the Pacific and probably the Atlantic, because that's geography for you.
Yes.
Geography.
Yes.
Yeah, geography. What do you want geography for? Oh, hello. He's got the Rona. Oh, Cortek, we need to be isolated for 7 days.
We do.
Oh, all right, fine.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. You and Cortek have a really good chemistry and rapport. Yeah, up until today.
Up until you mentioned the Rona again.
Some people believe that there's a pandemic going on. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Should we still be counting?
Sure, why not? If you can remember it. I don't know. I hit 2 years and I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude.
Yeah, that was enough.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care. A war started 2 months ago, so someone who. I can't think of a segue. Someone who lives on an island. There you go. We've been joined by Raz as well. How are you, Raz?
Good. Hello, people. Just a little bit late today, just skip the whole 10 a.m. mark. Yeah.
A beating will be given during the break.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. Yes, he keeps smiling, giggling. It's when I do it. It's kind of scary. Anyway, I share too much. All right, let's hit the ground running. Let's get the elephant out of the room. Because, how did he get in? How did the elephant get in? That's the real question. That's the elephant in the room about the elephant in the room. How the hell did that get in here? Are you familiar that Elon Musk? I've just mashed 2 celebrities together.
Alan.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, his evil twin brother Alan.
Call him Alan.
Elon Musk has bought Twitter.
Yeah.
for $44 billion. And, oh, geez, if you needed material for comedy, it's been 36 hours of just diamond level comedy.
At the end of the day, when there was so much complaining about it seems like everyone's got a price, huh? No, you can't. No, you can't. Well, I'll give you this money. Another billion? Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, what makes the world go round apart from gravity? It's usually money, a form of money. I mean, just look at the Ukraine and Russia and the response from the New World Order from that.
NATO's still shipping over supplies over there day by day, I guess.
Yeah, you'd think the president of the Ukraine would actually ask for medical supplies, food and water, but no, he still wants arms. It's really weird.
Make it a war zone for the next couple of decades.
Why Twitter? Why Twitter? Why is that considered the gold standard in social media?
Well, it's not. But the whole thing started, like someone actually has tweeted this out. This whole thing wouldn't have happened if they left Babylon B alone. Because Elon is friends with the guys at Babylon B, or he likes to chuckle. And they got banned for a joke. And that started the ball rolling. This whole thing is because a parody site had its account suspended on Twitter.
I think it's good. I think Twitter got too serious too fast, and people started to get sued by little comments they made in Twitter. That's where it all went downhill.
Well, no, it was also the shadow banning and the censorship and the suspension of accounts. Like, if you have been on Twitter in the last 36 hours, it's a completely different place. Like, people come in like, oh, I've got my account back, and all these people, all these subscribers. I think Tucker Carlson's back, and he got 90,000 90,000 subscribers in 24 hours. Joe Rogan's gone up.
Do they get their original subscribers back?
I don't know. Sure, why not? Probably not.
As a person who's on Twitter daily, what truly amazed me was how many people with blue check marks were counting the amount of followers they lost. And they didn't realize that their followers were actually bots that got, just wiped from the server.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah. That was a big percentage, wasn't it?
They actually thought it was like real people. No, it's not real people. It's bots. Lots of posts are made by bots in it.
Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is, I don't think the algorithm has changed as yet because Elon hasn't taken over. So what we're seeing is a lot of people going, oh dear, I'll clean it up. Oh dear, I really want to keep my job. I'll just unshadow ban all these people.
Yeah, I wonder how personal those whether there was little sheriffs running around banning people, or it was from up on high, or.
Well, yeah, it was a movement basically, and I think even Jack Dorsey was kind of being pushed out because he's praising Elon for his actions. Apparently, according to the chat room, Alex Jones is back too, so it'll be interesting to see if that is. I mean, if Alex is back, oh joy. The amount of blue check marks are freaking out because they're losing all their bots and their subscribers. They're threatening to leave. It's the latest one of like, if Trump wins president, I'm moving to Canada. If this blah blah blah. If Elon buys Twitter, I'm leaving Twitter. The thing is, it's kind of small compared to like say YouTube and Facebook, and but it's in the big three or four. What's the other social media that's out there? Facebook, Instagram. But a lot of media outlets or journalists and the entertainment and fandoms and stuff like that, it was a hellscape, but now it's a fun hellscape because there seems to be the leftards haven't got power anymore.
Let it rip sounds like fun.
Yeah. It's like, there's so much disinformation. Like, most people call that truth, but you do you. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, that's what I gotta say.
Right on.
Yeah, they're actually Robbie in chat rooms like, because I was hanging out before the show. Just let Bruce have a moment to talk, and like, I do, and he goes,
You guys ever see the movie The Deer Hunter?
I haven't seen it. No.
I've heard of it.
Raz?
It's very famous, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's not going to be a good joke then. But anyways.
Oh, yeah, it's not like anyone's listening, Bruce. Just say the joke. Jeez.
It's not going to make any sense. Like, you without the movie as a context, it's just not going to work. So.
You're not the only person that saw the D-Hunter. You know, people in the audience may have seen the movie. Is that the one where Ned Beatty should have got an Oscar for squealing like a pig?
No, that's Down the River. That's
Deliverance.
Deliverance.
Oh, Deliverance. Yeah. Okay, it's around the same time though. So yeah.
Well, The Deer Hunter is 1976 and Deliverance is 1972.
Yeah, from this point, it's 2022. They're around about the same, like the 70s.
Same decade, yeah.
Yeah,
I heard it's the 53rd greatest American film of all time.
You guys know you've heard the famous scene, right? From The Deer Hunter. It's famous for this one scene where they're prisoners of the Viet Cong and they're forced to play Russian roulette.
Sounds familiar.
Yes. Anyways, the guy running the game, the Vietnamese guy, and to make sure they pull the trigger and everything, he just screams the same thing over and over again. Mao, Mao. And if you don't pull the trigger, he slaps you in the face and says it again. Mao, Mao. And I was thinking we need that guy to keep the tempo on the round table up.
Maybe just a quick sample.
Without the visual. See, the joke doesn't work if you haven't.
Well, isn't Mao in Chinese cat?
No, I think it just means go in Vietnamese.
Okay, well, I said Chinese because I think that's funny that if cat in Chinese is Mao, because their chairman Mao is chairman cat. Just makes me giggle. I like that.
Yeah. So do we want to take a look at this world comedically?
Yeah, well, that's what I do. Like, but then we get 10 minutes in, everyone's like, "Oh, what are we doing?" So, I mean, just the comedy of Elon Musk and the ramification. Have you seen the media freaking out? Like the left side media is like, "Oh, it's the end of free speech," because he's allowing anything.
Everything they say is opposite. So, hooray!
Yeah, a lot of people's like, "No, he can't do that. That's our job." And like, you set the quiet bit loud. And the thing is, I have seen a tweet from Elon saying, "Yeah, it's free speech, but legally. It doesn't mean I can go on there and it's like, I'll misquote a statement from The Exorcist. Your mother knits socks in hell."
That's a big affirmative from me, Bruce. To your question.
Mao.
Well, actually, I was on a call with Andrew Barsis and co, and instead of saying now, we should try and put in meow, like in Super Troopers. So in this moment of meow, meow. Yeah, bit of comedy. I mean, in a insane world, why would you want to be sane? To quote David Icke.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm worried that you paused to think about that. Well, I don't know. It's just straight off the bat. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's silly.
French politics. Raz?
Speaking of insanity, I'll go into the French politics soon. I just want to touch on the Twitter. Suddenly, all liberals care about homeless people. After all the billions that's been spent, they were like 44 billion to buy Twitter. No, we could have cured homelessness with it. We could have cured poverty with it. Suddenly, every single one of them is playing sanctimonious. These were the same people who were cheering when nearly $3 trillion worth of weapons went to Ukraine. As for French politics, I already knew Marine Le Pen would lose. Everyone knew Marine Le Pen would lose. Marine Le Pen knew she would lose. Why? Because her father lost. She lost last time, and she's going to lose today. And there hasn't been a straight French election since World War One. So yeah. There's no point even going into France. France,
quickly going
Germany, back to Netherlands, those are nations you don't care about in terms of politics because the European Commission owns them completely.
Yes. Quickly going back to the homelessness thing, there is a meme where the people complaining about Elon Musk who used his own money to buy. I think it's like he's worth 300 billion, and he spent 44. So it's only a fifth or a sixth of. He can spare it, and I think the idea is going to make money from it.
Yeah.
But as you said, there's a drawing of the last three presidents all looking like NPCs, and they spent over $4 trillion, and they still have all the same thing. And hypocrisy, transparency through hypocrisy. It is fun. Like, if you start a Twitter account now and just go on there and watch everyone lose their collective marbles, it's awesome.
I've got an account, but I haven't really gone on there. But now seems the right kind of time.
Yeah. A lot of people. There's a nice reverse joke where, with Elon Musk buying Twitter, I don't think we'll have the same loving and respectful Twitter that we're used to, because it's completely opposite. We're in dog piles. The local ABC website here in Australia have pointed out the why is Twitter important. A lot of hashtags start and they get movements together, and so I think it's because of the journalistic aspect of it, where they're only on Twitter, and so it's that network. They use Twitter in that network type thing. But remember, kids, Twitter is not real. It's just a social media platform, and it's a private company again. And that's the interesting, when they announced that Elon Musk is buying Twitter, the United States government's starting to talk about, maybe we should ratify the 230 amendment thing. It's like, really? Because we've been calling for that for 4 years when Trump was in office.
Is that the dentist amendment?
No, that's when he's 230. Oh. Yes.
I was just wondering if the whole thing with the French election, from Raz's point of view, was, I mean, he says it wasn't a very honest election anyway, but if it's anything, that's the only really kind of big election we've seen since the US one, whether it's pointing towards the fact that any election after this one is just going to be taken.
Well, the amount of protesting from it as well, and I haven't gone into it, but the from what I'm seeing is it's like, have you met any Biden voters? All 81 million of them. It's like, well, hang on, you say he won, and people are pointing out we may see it here in Australia in May.
That's what I'm alluding to, yeah.
Yeah, because see, I'm not a fan of ScoMo, but I'd rather the Liberals in, or a hung parliament with a lot of minorities. And people say, but nothing gets done when you've got a hung parliament and the minorities rule, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, we've had 4 decades of the major parties in charge and nothing's happened.
It's the same. It's kind of the same.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's try something a little bit different. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, and Canada's more insane. So, Bruce, are you aware? Are you looking at your homeland, or you've given up and walked away?
Yeah, I take the occasional glance. What are you referring to?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just blocking it out now. It's like, okay. It's like, when the lockdowns were happening here in Australia, a lot of people from the United States are saying, don't become Australia. It's like, yeah, nah. I think Australia's going, don't become Canada. It's just getting the level of ridiculousness. Haven't they banned protesting, or they're going full hardcore tyranny where, Hitler's going, you have some good ideas, yeah?
Yeah. Well, they got a biker protest rolling into Ottawa on Friday, and they say there's going to be 1,000 bikers, and so I don't know what's going to happen there, but Canada's a funny place, man. Like, people from cold climates are different. I'll tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know immediately, I do, like when I'm talking to someone who comes from a cold climate. It's just, there's something about them. They don't even have to allude to where they're from or anything like that. You just kind of know, right?
How can you tell then?
Well, there's this thing in the voice where it's like, you've nearly frozen to death for most of your life. It's like, yeah, I have, but I survived. I'm stronger than you. I'm amazed you've actually survived in Costa Rica, because you should have melted by now.
Oh, that's an excellent thing you bring up. So my son's actually going in to the farm with the Nicaraguans and harvesting abaca.
You said that it's going to be a couple of months, huh? Or something like that.
Oh, that it'll be going on for the next 4 or 5 months. It's
right.
a big harvest. And he's just like going on and on about. You should have seen the first day. I thought I was going to have to go out there with a mule and bring him back. But he's a hard worker. He's done like unionized construction in Canada and all kinds of stuff, right? But it's the heat. Like it's the heat, and it's like you got to cut down this plant that could be 10 feet tall and could have an 8 or a 10-inch diameter, and they weigh a bit, and you got to walk uphill to where the machine is, where they get decorticated. You do that all day, man. Like it's friggin' crazy. I mean, it's got to be some of the hardest work I've ever seen, and the machine is just crazy too. Take your hand off.
You definitely be if you want to purge and get rid of all the antioxidants and all that stuff, he'd be sweating it out. like after a week is like, I feel extremely tired, but also I'm glowing because there's no heavy metals stuck in my bloodstream anymore.
Yeah, and all the guys that can do the work, like the 3 brothers that live with us with their wives from Nicaragua. They're all like, we actually weighed, everybody got weighed today because we had a load picked up, and they bring in this scale that kind of hangs from a beam in the barn where we store the abaca, and that's how they weigh the abaca. That's how you get paid. And everybody weighed themselves, and like the 3 brothers, they're like 52, 53, 54 kilograms, and you're going like, oh my God! But when you see how strong they are, it's like mind over matter, and their efficiency with a machete is truly frightening. Like
I'm sure there were samurais in their past lives in the 1500s where I cut down trees.
Well, when you're raised in a farming family in Nicaragua, you're basically handed a machete when you're like 8 years old. It's like a hot stick for them.
Yeah, or football here in Australia, an AFL football,
yeah. So, your buddy the cat here has just scratched me, Monty.
Well, everyone's a critic.
This would sound like it was a good one.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, trying to find some comedy in this world, I honestly, we can go a little dark with our comedy, right? I find it a little bit humorous, the way people are starting to lose their shit, and the way they're starting to think that, hey man, something might be rotten in the state of Denmark. Like, cluing in 2022.
It was a lot of people's first false flag,
Well,
yeah. A lot of still upside down.
Yeah, even we could argue if it's a false flag or not, but I understand the premise you're putting forward. Well, the level of corruption that is out, like it's getting dark out there. It's a dark world and it's getting evil. Well, no, it's the unveiling. It's an apocalypse, if you will.
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean Wednesday? Yeah. As I've said before, the Great Awakening. I think it's the first step to the Great Spiritual Awakening, and you kind of have to wake up to the corruption in the system with the politicians and the institutions, and go ahead.
Light and dark work together to move consciousness forward. You can't advance your consciousness, your proximity to the Creator, without engaging darkness. Okay, so whatever it was that said in the book of Genesis, don't eat from the tree of life because then you will know about good and evil, that's nothing you should be worshiping, because every lesson in this multiverse is about the negative and positive polarity and how to balance them to go to a higher vibration, right?
Especially on this planet. Like I've heard the theory, or the idea that the shadow is actually your personal shadow. Now, I don't mean like you turn on a light and there's your shadow, but unless you're tripping. But your spiritual shadow is actually a friend. It's there to help you. And a lot of people fight it and are afraid of it. But you can actually go, hey, how are you? Sit down. And, okay, you're pointing this out. Should I work through it? and eventually doing the inner work, and the shadow, you assimilate the shadow. Is that the right way of saying it? But you can use the dark for good and not evil.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson's big on that. Talks a lot about
just to add to the light against darkness, and you have to confront the darkness. Our universe was updated with free will that made it like that. So
yeah,
without the component free will, it wasn't like that. Actually, the moment free will came in, everyone was scratching their head like, what do you mean we don't have to follow the law of one? What exactly do you mean we don't have to do that anymore?
Well, back. Experience? What do you mean experience? Yeah.
And a bunch of people said, look, we don't know what to do. Let's follow the law of one. A bunch of people said, look, it's free will. The whole point of free will is to not follow the law of one and to do new stuff. Bam, a big war started. And that was the original angel versus demon war. That was the very original one. It goes all the way back 250 billion years.
Yeah. I still find it fascinating. Hollywood has never done the story of the War in Heaven and Lucifer falling. They do everything else, but not that one. I find that fascinating. There's a meme going around where it's like the Jesus for. It's not actually Dude Jesus. If you've seen the movie Dogma, where there's I can't remember the name of that Jesus, but he's winking, pointing, and he's got his thumbs up. Doesn't kind of pop.
Oh, the name Jesus.
Yeah, the awesome Jesus type thing. However, there's another one where he's like wearing sunglasses, got a joint in his hand, and the text is basically, now remember, you have to sin or Jesus died for nothing. It's like, well, logically that makes sense. I wouldn't really agree with it, but logically, yeah, you've got a point here.
Yeah, past, present, and futures together, right? So he died for our future sins too.
Yeah, and yet the church then for 800 years is like, you're born a sinner, and you must repent. And like, well, hang on, if someone picked up the tab before I was born, get out. All right, yeah, right. Yeah, that's yes.
Right now.
I know that's an audio medium, but Cortek has found said meme. So look at that. Oh, he's got a beer in his hand as well. So Jesus wants to remind you, if you don't sin, he died for nothing. Well, if he did die, because I don't trust journalists now. So how am I supposed to believe something that's 2,000 years old?
Yeah, stories. Yeah. People love stories.
And he's not the first. Like, if you look at, I think David Icke's material, even the movie Zeitgeist, the first third of it is pointing out, yeah, this story has been cherry picked from a lot of other places. Like I think even the Ten Commandments, you can find that in the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yeah, because the Bible is like the 6th or 5th reboot of an old story.
Yeah,
it's like it's like try to reboot Mad Max 6 times. See what happens. It's like
there's been too much pain. There's been too much anger. We just want the salvation.
That was pretty close.
Leave it behind.
Just give us the truck.
Yeah, it's like, brother, is that a V8? Nah, it's a Tesla car. What do you think? Wow.
Oh, people have pointed that out. I will be bouncing back to the Twitter thing, but I don't want to derail the conversation. But people have pointed out the blue check marks that are freaking out about Twitter are doing it in a Tesla. Slight irony there.
Yeah. In a Tesla with a vegan diet. But just to pick on people here, because I know this is going to pick on a lot of people, the real Jesus didn't die on a cross. The fake one did. Just for you guys to remind you guys.
Yeah, well, Greg from In 5D he condensed the Bible into about 2 sentences. Respect everything, love everybody. Like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. It was. It is filled with all kinds of jokes in it, because the multidimensional beings were doing it for the purpose of ridiculing and joking around. They must have had put that pen around their mouth, just look up and go, how can I screw this up? What can I do?
Pretty sure it wasn't written as a joke book.
No, it was written as a joke.
Tesla saw it. Tesla
It was
saw
written.
Tesla saw it as more of a code book. He
Well, there
got
is
a
a lot
lot
of
of clarification and ideas from reading it. He said.
But which Bible do we? I've had interesting conversations with Christians. Which Bible are you reading? Because even the King James version has over 300,000 mistranslations. It's instead of eon, it should be age or either. And even when I believe when the King James version was being translated, it took so long that when it was released to the general public in Britain, their language had moved on, and so it sounds very old English. But when it came out, I think modern English had started to turn up, and it's fascinating. Like, Beowulf is Beowulf is a great story by Chaucer, however you say his name. However, if you read it, it's in old English, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? But that was the language at the time.
Yeah. The actual book is the Hebrew book's never been translated or something like that, has it? There's some story like that.
There's no Hebrew language either. It's Phoenician.
Right. There's one version that hasn't been translated anyway out of its original text.
They have really, the only thing I know about the Venetians is they have really good blinds.
Hey, Mao.
It's Phoenician, not Venetian.
Oh, yeah.
Phoenician.
Old people with boats.
Stop on the laughs.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Spock. Oh yeah. No, that wouldn't happen. I've had people like that. I call them Spock, where like you say a joke and they actually deconstruct it logically. Well, why would a horse walk into a bar? I mean, it can't hold the drinks. It's like, shut up.
Mao.
I remembered a very bad joke, or it's a dad joke, and dad jokes are awesome, ladies and gentlemen. A brassiere and a set of jumper leads walk into a bar, and the barman says, "We can't serve you here." And they said, "Why?" "Well, you're off your tits, and that guy's about to start something."
Hey, pretty good.
So they're called street jokes. You pull them out occasionally because if you heard them, like, oh yeah, but if you hear it 18 times, like, that's not funny. But you wait 7 years and then bring them up and like, oh yeah.
Well, I never heard it. It's good the first time. Jokes.
Well, let's see. A rabbi, a clown, and a sheep walk into a bar, and the barman says, "Is this some type of joke?"
Hey, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why did the chicken cross the road?
Oh.
Because his Twitter account got reinstated.
He don't know. Chickens don't even know what a road is.
Yeah.
That's a fair call.
That's what we need. We need someone who can actually read. I want to have a segment on Planet Collingwood where we have someone who can actually read the Akashic records and tell us the history of jokes. Like, where the hell did that come from? Who thought, why did the chicken cross the road? Was it a peasant in 1200 BC or something? Like, I'm bored, Akmil. How about, why did the chicken cross the road? What? Why is Gina running away?
I can probably give you an understanding of where that came from because of my experience with chickens.
What? Tell us.
I told you 3-4 years ago to buy a Quonset hut. You would be sitting pretty right now. If the chicken crosses the road and goes into another yard, it may, if it mingles with other chickens, it may go into that coop at night, so you lose your chicken. So any serious farmer would ask the question, why did my chicken cross the road? Right? And crossing a road it happens all the time up here. I had these, I don't even know what you call them. They're another bird up here that gives eggs, and you can also eat them for meat, but they're not chickens. And I had about 9 of them in the yard this morning when I woke up. They just walked past me. It's one of my neighbors from half a kilometer.
No harm, no foul. Yeah. So could I use it as a metaphor for Marxism? You got to keep your chickens because if that chicken crosses the road, it'll start spreading its ideology. I don't want to unionize my chicken coop.
I don't think the chicken wanted to talk. I think the chicken's a bit of a hussy.
Looking for cock.
That's the male bird we're talking about.
Yes, yeah, that's with a Q. I like to, before I get censored, it was like, hey, I'm using it correctly. It's like, that, sir, is a bitch. How dare you? No, it's a female dog. I'm using it correctly. I'm not a hip hop artist.
Chickens are fascinating to be around, man. They, and the cock really runs the roost, eh? And he's like, he's hanging all those chicks, and it's going on all day. Like and you see the wings flutter real quick, and he'll just jump on top of a hen, and he's done in like 3 seconds. It's all over.
So big rooster energy, if you know what I'm saying.
But it's going on all day. Like 45 minutes, this guy's popping one off. And they're all yeah. It's just like the life.
It sounds like a dolphin. Dolphins only have sex for about 7 seconds, but they constantly do it. And it's like, I'm asking the question in my brain right now is, how did Planet Collingwood turn into an animal husbandry show? So, I'm not getting any sex at all at home, so let's just talk about animals that do it quick.
It just happened.
As you get all these loony activist groups merging, you get the eco rights people and the feminists coming together, and I've seen campaigns to separate chickens and hens, roosters and hens, to stop what they call, and I quote, the nonstop rape.
Yeah. I've seen that. He was a vegan actually who did that.
Not a joke. It's not a joke. We have to
I
stop.
know.
Well, no, it is, but it's based on real, yeah.
Oh yeah, God made a mistake. He just going to be ripped.
Yeah, without being a bit too controversial, I did like when former Vice President Joe Biden, I'm taking Crowder's point of view. I'm not sure if he's president, but he was former Vice President. We support the transgender and their rights. Transgender community and their God-given rights. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? What? So you're saying that they feel like they're in the wrong body, so they need to actually have chemical and medical changing, but then the God gives them rights to do that. Maybe it's that free will thing. It's kind of weird.
No, it's that God we spoke about earlier, the one that said, "Don't look into good and evil." That's the one.
Yeah. I love the I came up with it about a month ago where I think it's Black Robe. It came out around about the same time as The Mission. I don't think I've seen The Mission because I would remember a guy strapped to a cross and that goes over a waterfall. I remember the poster, but I don't remember the actual movie. But in Black Robe, they're in Canada talking to the locals, the natives. I don't call them Indians because they're not from India. However, they're going because they're trying to convert them to Christianity. And it's like, so what happens when you die? Because they're challenging their belief system where they go back to the Great Spirit. Well, what happens is when you convert to Christianity and when you die, you will go to heaven and you sit cross-legged and watch God for eternity. And they're like, no. So basically, so what you're saying is, I die and then I spend eternity watching Yahweh pick his nose. This is not really an incentive.
I know people who've been up there for a long time, and when that God loses his patience, he just screams "Mao Mao" and slaps you in the face.
Gives you a gun.
It spins the chamber and goes, your turn now.
I'm bored, Mao.
Oh.
Yeah. What happened on Planet Collingwood? Well, they actually brought Christianity into a Vietnam movie. Oh, all right. The war, yes.
How, but they popularized Russian roulette.
The horror of the Psalms. Yeah.
I think we found your YouTube title for this Planet Collingwood already, Monty. Just put it up as Mao Mao.
It's all
Mao Mao.
It's all about the Mao Mao.
Oh my God.
That reminds me of a scene from MASH where I think Klinger is cutting the hair of Colonel Potter. And it's like, you ought to be in pictures. Wow. You ought to be.
Yeah.
Was that the cigar in the mouth, Mao Mao?
No, I don't think he was smoking at the time, no. But, See, now trying to remember anything from MASH, there's over 240 episodes, so it's hard to whittle it down.
Well, I'll say this as you brought this memory back. I don't really like Alan Ladd, but I don't know why.
Alan Alda?
Oh, yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
See, I can't even say his name. Mao Mao. Kind of struck me as not really an actor, and it's just like every time I used in that show, it's like you were getting bawled out by your parents or something, in between the alcoholism and all that stuff,
Yeah, well, a quick segue into MASH. The first 5 seasons are a comedy, and then the next 6 seasons, it was a drama with comedy. And you could see, like when Frank Burns and Henry Blake leave, the comedy kinds of changed, and they had different stories. And that's when Alan Alda started writing and directing, not all the things, but it kind of makes you can see why it evolved that way, because they wanted to do something fresh. It was that popular. It went for 11 seasons. MASH went 8 years longer than the actual war that it's portraying.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no.
So
I should clarify. So. I will clarify the combat in the war, because technically North and South Korea during a ceasefire, which is what now 70 years now they've been at a ceasefire.
Yeah, that's an ugly situation.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just beautiful to point out how the UN helps humanity move forward.
I mean, just to be living up in the North. And there's no way, as hard as he tries, Kim Jong-un can suppress what it's like to live in Seoul, right? Like they all have relatives. I don't think it's locked down, and there's people crossing the border illegally all the time, coming back with pictures on their cell phones and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they know what they're capable of as a people, which is like it's like. At least the Russians, everyone around them, they brought into communism. And so there was no negative comparison except this wonderful, funky, great party going on in the West that everyone wanted to be a part of. But
have you seen a satellite photo of Korea?
Yeah.
At night. I've seen it as a meme. Let's see this communism thing. Okay, how about we split a country into capitalism and communism and come back 70 years later and see how it's working out? And you can see South Korea is basically completely lit up, and North Korea, I think a porch light in Pyongyang is on. It's completely dark, and it's like, well, there you go. And of course, the left will, oh no, it's not real communism. Like, sure.
Why is there such major disparity between the two in this age of everyone knows what everyone else is doing from the internet? Why would they not reach for the same conveniences?
In short, the man with a stick doesn't care about your piece of paper. And so you need to have a revolution. There's been talk in the woo-woo land that they'll unify in South Korea. And it's like, I don't see that. I don't know how you can have that happening, because the North will go, wait, what? Elon Musk bought Twitter. Who's Elon Musk and what's Twitter?
Yeah, but after that, it could happen.
Well, no, I mean, the North has to give up control, basically. I don't see. I mean, the Chinese are having their fun where it's still communism, but they're leaning towards capitalism to a certain point. And, the people start getting, kind of happy because they can buy more than one vegetable for a meal.
Yeah, but capitalism isn't the answer as it is either.
Well, it's not true. Now, it sounds like a lefty. It's not true capitalism. We actually have cronyism, basically, because of the corruption at the top. And I think Karl Marx invented the word capitalism and, free market, blah, blah, blah. But if you're playing in a sandbox and the Federal Reserve owns the sandbox, is it a free market?
Yeah. Or if you belong to a worldwide peace organization where one country holds veto rights, and there might be one country that caused a lot of the problems with a lot of the military assets, then
that Security Council, which is basically designed after the conclusion of World War II, which was the conclusion of World War One.
Bloody councils.
Yeah.
Mao. There has been an investigation a thorough investigation of all Alzheimer's recently, and they've found that there's a connection between the loss of motivation and Alzheimer's progression. So that kind of tells me that we should have like an age limit or something on politics and people who are allowed to go in there, because otherwise they're just not going to be motivated to do anything.
So you mean like 2/3 of the United States Congress and Senate?
Well, Biden for starters is a pretty big glowing example.
Yeah, but well played having Kamala Harris in there, who apparently has COVID as well. So it's fascinating, all these leaders that are, you have to be up to date with your vaccines and mask mandates and social. I've got COVID, sorry. Like, well, I mean, Trump defeated COVID in a week. Why can't you?
I think they'd like to take turns to be the poster child of that current campaign.
Oh, well, remember, George Bush Sr. put in Dan Quayle, and no one wanted to assassinate George Bush because you'll get Dan Quayle. It's the same with Biden and Harris, because if you remove Biden, you kind of have to remove Harris. And I'm not saying don't be a CIA operative, not Lee Harvey Oswald type, not take them out. But say
you mean go to a
25th
movie and dinner or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, do you want to go see the new Doctor Strange film? No, not like that. If they're removed from office in a legal way, say like the 25th Amendment, you kind of have to have Harris go as well, because you don't want her. And I believe the line of succession, if I can say it that way, in the United States, it's president, vice president, and then Speaker of the House, which is Nancy Pelosi, who's 900 years old and drunk.
Well, that's a triple threat, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. If you want, we're going to see politics turn into a Three Stooges sketch. There you go. Biden, Harris, and Pelosi.
Oh my God, that'd be the best show to charge subscription for. Get them all in in a battle arena and just watch them just fight it out. That'd be awesome. They're all so old and ineffectual at everything. It'd be good to see them really put their life on the line for something.
I think that they're going to swing Hillary in somehow. I know that sounds crazy, given the lack of evidence, but it's just a feeling I have,
I'd agree. After this, this French thing being the most recent thing, and our election coming up.
Do not say that you're going to manifest it. Do not say that you're going to manifest it.
Well, people have been trying to manifest Michelle Obama as well, and
they already stole one election right under the nose of everyone who was watching.
Poorly. The word you're looking for is they stole an election poorly.
Poorly.
Yeah.
I just see that as a pattern now. I see that as there is no other option pattern. There is no other option double down pattern. And we'll see if it does go that way.
But there is the pushback. There's the positive side of things. Say Elon Musk is buying Twitter. Joe Rogan has got 2 million more subscribers and is staying with Spotify. Netflix dropped the Obamas, and CNN Plus lasted 21 days.
What happened with the Obamas? Because I saw some, this is me, President Cool, just talking about nature kind of thing. I'm the next David Attenborough, but I didn't even go next to kind of clicking it.
I guess their contract wasn't renewed. And of course, someone that says, we have to fight climate change is like, you spent $9 million to buy a house on the coast. So how am I supposed to believe you?
Mao.
But yeah, CNN Plus, which was their paid subscription service, lasted 21 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them, that's for sure.
I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to even have a serious convention in Las Vegas.
Well, not now. It's Las Vegas.
You mean after the comedians convention?
No, that was the whole joke. I think it fell flat on the Australians.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still cannot.
Duh. This is true. Yes, duh.
Yeah. So
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. So the God's gonna wipe out the world. People are getting pretty worked up. Notice, just trying to get that big template onto what's going on in the world, make it all line up, and the problem is it's not lining up. It's just, not going the way anybody planned.
No.
Chaos. Training wheels are off.
I think it's designed to do that. If you at any point think that you might have a clear understanding of something or other, or something happens and you develop a machine that gives you a precise understanding of quantum physics, the next day you'll find something's changed. I think this is a we'll always keep at arm's reach, and we don't think we're supposed to understand it.
Well, what I find interesting that it's not being talked about enough, and bringing it up is me trying to start people talking about it, is they're saying there's going to be food shortages and famines and supply chain. It's like, well, at the same time, 20 different food hub distribution centers have gone on fire. It's like, what's the CIA playing at? Whatever chaos is, they're trying to manufacture chaos. It's not happening naturally, but at the same time, they're idiots, so they're doing it badly.
Okay.
I saw that food manufacturer thing. That's a thing, is it? It's a real thing? I saw someone talking about it, but I
you can actually go to the news and the articles were probably full of mistruths, but places that have food seem to be catching on fire for the last 3-4 months.
In England, call it a pattern.
Yeah, in the UK, they're saying, there might be a famine. At the same time, the UK government is offering farmers retirement packages.
Just to leave.
Yeah, we'll give you a lot of money to leave the farm, and also at the same time, Elon Musk is buying Twitter. What's Satan's name? Bill Gates is buying all this farmland. Mind you, Bill Gates buying a lot of farmland is kind of distressing and interesting, but he's only buying 5%, because Big Agra has a lot already. So it's we're just watching the world. Well, some parts are collapsing, other parts are doing it, because the response to all this insanity is a lot of people are getting together and forming communities and so we can do this better without the corruption.
Yeah. All we need to vote in. Was it? Oh, sorry. Back in a sec. Sorry.
Right. Cortek just got to level 9 of his of his life, so. We're coming up to the break here at Planet Collingwood, and I'm having fun. I'm not sure about you guys, because you're going off real hardcore and bursting.
Sorry about that. What I heard was a good. What do you do to make the government slowly dwindle down, kind of thing, and you get politicians in there that kind of sign a waiver that. This is more Gregory Sam stuff, that sign a waiver to say that they will do nothing in office, they will not attend any votes, and it's one more politician that will vow for that area to wind down the government because we should be able to do it better.
Well, yes, I like the idea. However, you can't have. Have you met humans? You really want everyone to be at this moment, in this moment of meow. Do you want everyone to sort of be their own master? Because even the natives of Turtle Islands, they would still have councils of 12 and a chieftain.
Things will still all get organised, but they'll get organised from the ground up, not from the top down. Top down, you lose the feedback loop.
Well, no, it's the corruption, because you've got how many lobbyists in Washington, D.C. and how did Nancy Pelosi get millions of dollars and is only paid so much each year? And it's the corruption, basically. So I can see where you're coming from with the idea. And there's no one really to vote unless someone comes out and is like, I'm going to fight corruption. It's like, well, no, I don't care about, because it's just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, you just got to not support the things that support that. Anyway, it's 4 steps in front.
Well, I mean, most the corruption of it is you've got 2 major parties that are basically one big party, and they're working towards the same goal or same agenda, but they have these little tanties of oh no, you said this and I said that as a distraction, and yet
scrap the whole lot.
I remember
Scrap it.
I'm not big into politics, but I've known about politics since the age of age of 8. Because my parents obviously would follow, because you don't ignore politics and you go, why is everything so expensive? But let's go back to Thatcher, Reagan, the last 4 decades, as I said earlier in the show. Nothing really has it's gotten worse instead of better. Even with this new technology, it's like, well, how much is gas? And they're arguing about, instead of like 25 years ago talking about renewable energy and having a slow phase in and phasing it out instead of making it a political issue, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, the planet's going to destroy itself in 12
Someone
years.
say political issue. Hello.
Yeah. And it's like, well, they've been saying 10 years since the 70s. So there you go. We're at halfway here at Planet Collingwood. I hope you're enjoying it. I know I am. And just go into these messages and we'll be back in a mo. Or meow, 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 meow. Part 2 of Planet Collingwood has begun. Welcome back to Planet Collingwood here on Studio A on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. If you enjoyed the last hour, and I know I did, please donate to the station because we're 100% listener supported, as Nighthawk has just pointed out. The #1 talk radio station on the internets that is funded by you. So thank you for all those have donated. If you go to the website, freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio, click on the Patreon button and give what you can. Don't sell your house. You kind of have you need somewhere to live. So do that. Then pop into the merchandising and buy cups and caps and onesies for the little ones and so much other things. And then end up in the chat room and just hang out with awesome people that are actually still talking. So I must be getting better at it, because usually when this show's on, everyone's laughing so much they can't reach the keyboard. I had a meme sent to me by Mechanic, one of the hosts here on Revolution Radio. I believe he'll be on tomorrow at midnight for the High Council, if I've got that correctly. And the meme is all these people complaining about Elon buying Twitter, bought a Tesla, and that's how he funded the whole project. So yeah, it's their own fault. Now, from the world, I have been joined by Cortek, Bruce MacDonald, and Raz. From the world of entertainment, it has come out that Spike Lee, nearly said Bruce Lee, no, Spike Lee is going to make a multi-part documentary on Colin Knickerbocker. You know, that guy that started kneeling? He's going to do a multi-part documentary on that, which is weird because last year Colin did a 4-part series on Netflix calling the NFL, the people that paid him, slavers. And I think he still wants to go work for them. So it's going to be another show I won't see.
Monty.
Look, stunned silence, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, what? Spike Lee's still alive?
Have you heard the news, Monty?
Well, the planet's 4 billion years old. Do you want to scale it down? What, the dinosaurs died from an asteroid? I did. Yeah. What's the latest bit of news?
He has risen.
Well, I rose this morning too.
Hi-yo.
Yeah. What are your achievements today? I got out of bed.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders is throwing shade at the privatization of space, always been a big black hole for funds.
Bernie Sanders has no credibility because he's run for president twice, got all those donations. It's like, I'm stopping my campaign, no refunds. I'll be at one of my many houses. Because if he does it again, I don't think anyone, like the Bernie bros, will go, no. The third time, no.
There's a lot of
First
people
time,
got their
shame on
hopes up.
you. Second time, shame on me. Third time, I'm going to find one of these houses and burn it down, allegedly.
I think Australia was talking about some kind of space force, and it's just this undocumented black hole for public money.
Oh, what is it? The Australian Space Research Association, or ARS. Something like that. Oh, quickly, I just want to Jer Bear, yes, Kaepernick, Pippi Longstocking, the one that's got the fuzzy hair. That's the one. Yes, the one that yeah.
Chinese are in space now, right?
The what now?
The Chinese are in space, right?
Yeah.
Everybody is.
I think they're going. They want to go to the moon.
I heard they're already on Jupiter, man. They've exited their crafts. They're just grabbing people by the neck, slapping them in the face, and saying "Mao Mao."
No, well, I thought that was the Vietnamese, but yeah, the Chinese, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the Chinese will say, oh, "No, we were here first, and we came by. We are celestial. We came by the moon, so the moon's ours as well."
Mm-hmm.
The Australian tagline for the Australian Space Division says down the bottom of the picture, Australia won't seek to develop technologies to attack enemy satellites. So all you got to do is to reverse that if they felt the need to say that, isn't it?
Oh, no, we'll just get our own space shuttles because Australians like a good fight. That's how we supported England in the 20th centuries. Like the British, hey, say, old boy, we're starting a war. Yeah, and they called you poofters. Right, I'm going, oh, that guy's stuffed, mate.
Sounds like a bit of an adventure.
Yeah, I'll volunteer and then get mowed down by you. Okay, chaps, thanks for coming from the colonials. Now, since all our boys have been wiped out by industrial warfare, just when you hear the whistle, jump out of the trench and run towards the newfangled machine gun that pinch it twice, and so basically there's enough lead in the air that you can walk on it. Be a good chap. There you go.
Yeah, and that other one. What was that other one? Where they just kind of Australians held that kind of
actually, yeah, we had
doesn't sound like a
on
great
Monday.
place to be.
On Monday we had Anzac Day, which is the Australian Memorial Day, basically, because on April 25th, 1915, is when Gallipoli was the first combat that the new nation of Australia sent Australian men into combat. Now the thing is, it was a Winston Churchill idea where he wanted to start up a second front and sort of attack Turkey from behind and start a second front in the east. Because, that always works well, having an eastern front. Now, the idea was to take the Dardanelles, but they couldn't send ships up it. They needed a land force to land at the flat bit and walk over and take all the guns, and so the ships can go in and they could have a beachhead and blah, 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 and then walk through Turkey. However, an English git who I think was dropped as a baby, as a young on his head, they actually they missed, I think it was 4 miles or a mile. They missed the landing point by at least between a mile and 4 miles. And so instead of just flat pasture land where you could walk real quickly, Blitzkrieg, before Blitzkrieg was invented, they ended up with 90-degree cliffs. And they were like, geez. And they were there for 9 months, and it turned into a stalemate. And they decided to withdraw because it was just a waste of time, money, and men. And someone in the Australian Army figured out that by using 2 cans, bully beef cans, one would drip water into the other one, and when there was enough weight, it would trigger the trigger and fire the rifle at indiscriminate times. And so as everyone's evacuating, you would have these rifles popping off during the night, and the Turks had no idea what was going on. They only found out the next day, like around about morning tea, where they didn't see anyone on the beach, and they went into the trenches and just found all these messages to them. So our first Australian incursion into combat was a draw. We didn't lose.
Interesting.
It was a
pretty
draw.
MacGyver.
Yeah,
and
then the Anzac legend was created in France and so forth. But that was the start of it, and that's why we called diggers, because they had to dig into the cliffs. And you got Lone Pine and all the bottlenecks. And when there was armistice between the two armies, they got on like a house on fire. They knew they were fighting someone else's war. And even now, they still have, like, Australians go to the dawn service in Gallipoli in Turkey, and there isn't any animosity between the two countries. And when they were alive, a lot of veterans would get together. It's really weird, like enemy combatants. Obviously, during the war, they hated each other, but then afterwards they realized, you know what, that was silly, and they became friends with each other.
Be one way to let go of the emotion, I guess. That was forced upon you to be there, Mao Mao.
And it was pointless in the Mao. And so it was and also the Australians. I think we sent over 325,000 troops, all volunteer. And so just like I think the United States, maybe even Canada, you could tell me about this, Bruce. Every country town has a World War I memorial because the amount of soldiers that died.
I don't know about every one. I mean, there's literally
there's a lot of them. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, because that was the first major. Because instead of like even Blackadder goes forth, where the army were used to heading into Africa, and they have a 6-foot black man running towards them with a slice of guava, and then then it got industrialized. And that's when it was just mass slaughter. And then I don't think the Western Front moved for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It got that ridiculous that the Germans, the fighting for on the front lines, they would only fight between 12 and 4. Because it's like they couldn't, every time they would go over the top, you have 200 men running towards machine guns, and there's 2 of them, so there would be crossfire, and there was no way you could actually get to it. The only way that the Australians sort of started their legend is they were allowed to be commanded by an Australian instead of the English, and the Australians are like, yeah, I'm not just running at this. So, and the war kind of ended quickly after the Australians started to be commanded by General Monash or Monash anyway. If you ever come to Melbourne, everything's called Monash.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That a flavor at Baskin Robbins in Australia? I
think we have Baskin Robbins.
I'll have a double Monash, please.
Yes, it's sand and blood and and a cherry. So yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. So I guess the monsters will be marching out of the sea any day now.
Oh, like the Leviathan and and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Is that supposed to happen?
I read it in a book somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was in a hotel room. I opened the drawer and there was this book just sitting there, owned by Gideon.
Haunted me my whole life.
Yeah, really. Apparently, the ending's kind of sucky. There's a character that's really nice and helps people, but he's taken out because he messed with the money.
Yeah. Christians are like Bigfoot. Everyone says they've seen one, but nobody's got any proof.
Well, Adelaide's full of churches, so yeah. Mind you, is that a MacDonald's thing? Is it? It's not actually about fast food. It's all about property.
It is all about property.
Yeah, and because the Vatican's done well, where the Pope wears a dress, has a yarmulke, has one of the biggest libraries apparently of porn and everything else. Is against walls, but has 8 thick walls around its said Vatican, and it's its own city or country or something like that. Yeah, but nothing sus.
Nothing sus. And the telescope.
Yeah, and the Pope before this one looks like Jonathan. What's his name from Tomorrow Never Comes? I can't remember his last name, but
it does.
Yeah, it's like, are you the same guy? Actually, that guy actually is in a TV show called The Two Popes. And like, all right, you're taking the piss now. But the one before that, Ratzberger or Ratzinger or whatever his name was, he looked like Emperor Palpatine.
He did. He had the dark under the eyes. I was just waiting for lightning to come out of his hands.
Yeah. Or he looks like Bilbo when he's reaching for the ring. When he's like, I just want to see the ring one more time, Frodo. Precious.
It's very, very close.
And also, have you seen them? They've got like I think it's a church, but there's this massive hall, and it looks like the inside of a reptilian head or a crocodile. where they've got windows on the side that look like eyes and everything else like that.
Oh, that's their hall kind of thing.
Yeah, and then also he's, the Pope sits on a golden throne because he's here to help the poor, and then there's this mural behind him, and it all looks like all the like all the souls that disagreed with him are stuck in hell, and it's like I get
Fazzini's The Resurrection.
Yeah, how many kids at the age of 7 or 8 that go to church for the first time are like, why is there a man murdered on the wall here?
It's super crazy. It's super creepy, that whole backdrop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not having a go at people that have a connection to God or the Great Spirit, but, the church, not so much.
Yeah. They got some splaining to do.
Yeah. I like the term Christendom. There's 30,000 different churches, and they all think they're right.
Yeah.
This is why Jesus hasn't come back. Supposed to love each other. But, the Lutherans and the Reformists, and I mean, you can see the ridiculousness in the British monarchy when was it Queen Anne, when she finally died, the line of succession, they got to 53rd in line because they don't like, are they Protestants or Catholics? I can't remember which. Anyway, they're one of the team. But anyway, that's how you got King George the First, because he was 52nd or 53rd in line because he was the right religion.
Yeah.
That's how you run a country.
Yeah.
Get a German in there.
And it happens to every religion too. It's not just ours, right? Every religion just starts to go wonky after, I don't know. I think the expiry on religion is like 600 years. It can maybe mutate like 3 times. So let's say 1800 years, but they just, man, like it's a tricky recipe, man, like wine or yogurt.
It can go off really easy.
Yeah, and then you have the weird one, which is Mormonism, where it's not aliens. God sent down Morton or Metatron, and he tried to relay the message 3 times. It's like, you sure the transmission was interrupted, and so he had to start again, and then told Joseph that, oh no, there's some golden tablets hidden somewhere, and only you can translate them, and when you finish, we'll take them back. So don't worry, everything's fine.
Yeah. And then, where are those gold tablets, man? And why did they start the book with affidavits? It's a very creepy document. The whole Book of Mormon is a very creepy document. And if you've spent as much time with language as I have, it's a very weird language. Like, it was written in English, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like anything you've ever read. It's this like Illuminati transformation, reptilian channeling language or something. It's very weird. Very, very weird book.
Yeah. And the premise of the story is basically that 3 days after Jesus, he gets killed, put in a tomb. 3 days later, he comes out, showing that lockdowns don't work. And then 3 days after that, he goes on his world tour, and he goes to South America first.
Yeah.
You think the natives would have mentioned that at any point, like through cuneiforms or hieroglyphs, or in one of their pyramids that was built after that. But hey, I'm just asking questions. So that's my Stephen Crowder impression of Jesse Ventura.
So who's got an update on Ukraine? Like, what's really going on there? Like, who's winning, and is there any truth to be had there, or is it all just?
Unfortunately, well, where do you look? Because you've got the propaganda machine of, like, remember that montage of CNN for 18 months saying, oh, it's the final days of the Trump administration. 18 months later, oh, it's the final day. Like, let it go. It's not manifesting. It's not happening. But Russia's on the ropes, and Putin's made a mistake. And then there's footage of Russian troops actually helping Ukraine. people. There are Ukrainians saying, please stay. They can't really speak out of it because they'll be ostracized, but they're whispering to soldiers allegedly, thank you for being here, please stay. Because, it's been said that there's actual Nazis in the Ukraine, not like neo-Nazis, the real Nazis who didn't leave at the end of World War II, because that's near that's the Khazarian type of area, which I do find fascinating, because the president, who is a very successful stand-up comedy, because how else would he get $1.7 billion under his account, thanks to the Pandora Papers, said that Ukraine will be a new Israel. I'm like, okay, what are you doing with this story? Because I thought Israel was supposed to be Israel.
Ukraine will never be a new Israel. So what's been happening in Russia is that Mariupol is completely been crushed, and in the steel foundry underneath there's a intricate system of tunnels, and that system of tunnels is completely been occupied by Ukrainian forces. It just so happened that the Ukrainian forces is not exactly Ukrainian in nature. It's filled with NATO soldiers, mostly French. Now, there was an incident very recently where a bunch of what?
The French have soldiers?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, the French Foreign Legion. They get foreigners for them. You know.
They do have soldiers. So there was a problem where they were trying to airlift some French officials out of Ukraine, and the helicopter got shot down twice, and the few idiots that remain, Macron tried to speak to Putin about that. I don't know what happened, but apparently Macron gave up completely on those soldiers. Now, videos came out of those French soldiers in Mariupol under those tunnel. Broken legs, broken spine, broken eye socket. They're completely trashed, completely. And they don't have any medical assistance, and they're going to die soon. So Putin has a complete control over Ukraine. And as far as weapons are being sent into Ukraine, there's something very funny happening. See, Putin used old Soviet era to present day, those outdated weapons. Mm-hmm. And that's been well expanded, mostly Soviet era, tanks and everything. Now, all the weapons that are being sent into Ukraine is either being depleted fast or it's being captured by Russian soldiers. So far, Russia has probably gained 1 billion worth weapon.
New
tanks,
toys.
Anti-personnel mines, tank mines, javelins, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's really like this indirect funneling of weapon into Russia via Ukraine's incompetence. I don't know if they're seeing that, but so far Raytheon doesn't seem to care too much about it.
No,
As for what I find interesting, if we go back to Afghanistan, the weapon dump there, and then like, this is Biden's America. Like, we have no enemies. Well, let's give those people some weapons, and then we'll have some.
Let's make some.
Well, you see, the weapon dump in Afghanistan was on purpose because Afghanistan is the opium field of the world. It's the chemist of the world. And America has its warlord over there funneling megatons of those opiums into the U.S. because the U.S. needs a lot of opiates to calm its people. So as for Ukraine, it doesn't feel that direct. But again, it could be because these guys are really doing all kinds of things right now. We have a fertilizer problem. We have a food problem. We have Mariupol, which is a port and a hub for trading, completely cut off, completely under the control of Russia for now. So it's been cut off for like nearly 1.5 months. Mm-hmm. And so the whole Ukraine is going, Putin calls it a complete victory because he's barely suffered any losses. Approximately, he's lost 16,000 plus confirmed killed soldiers, mostly young soldiers, but none of the veterans, none of the good weapons, none of the pristine toys. Everything is still intact in Russia. As for Ukraine, 1/3 of Ukraine is completely totaled.
Yeah, it reminds me of that quote from, bear with me, X-Men 3, when Magneto stops one of his henchmen to go in. It's like, no, in chess, the pawns go first. And there's stuff where I saw a photo of they were defusing a bomb, unexploded bomb, but luckily they put a towel over the markings for it, because that's the first thing you do. Like, what? I've seen footage of like a dead man scratch his nuts as the truck was going by.
No.
There was wait. There was one more where the Ukrainians have the best glass in the world because all these cars are upended and they've been on fire, and because apparently they've been shelled, but none of the windows are broken.
Now, the NATO foreign officer will be paying a visit to Russia. Should be at about now or tomorrow. And he's paying a visit to Russia first instead of Ukraine. And Ukraine's been bugging them incessantly to become part of Europe, become part of NATO and everything. So what we have to look forward to right now is whether or not Zelensky will be used and then discarded. And then they will just leave Ukraine the way it is. Okay? Or this conflict will be dragged into 2023, which a lot of Russians are prepared for. And if it drags into 2023, it's going to be a real problem. As far as the Russians are concerned, for them, this is a done deal. The only thing they need to do right now is to clean up the place, remove Azov, get the civils in. And Russia doesn't want Ukrainian soldiers to be killed. It doesn't want Ukrainian civilians to be killed because all the Ukrainian civilians love them. It's their families. They want them on their side. But what they are doing with Ukraine right now is the complete and total destruction of what you would call a breadbasket. It's completely been total. So these are the two things to look forward. What's going to happen to Zelensky? Because Zelensky is absolutely incompetent. So far, he hasn't done anything worthy of a leader. Second, whether or not the war will drag into 2023. These are the two things you want to pay attention to.
Well, interesting enough, Zelensky has done a really good promo tour. You got to give him that.
He's a good dancer too, on high heels. Like, my God, I would have sprained my ankle long ago.
But yeah, it's just like I mean, when it first started, my gut feeling, my inner knowing, my God spark, to quote the Transformers, is like something's way off here. And then the whole thing where now I saw actually on the Revolution Radio Twitter. So even if you go on Twitter, follow Revolution Radio, they've got their own account, and they're showing a footage of a journalist who has been going to these places. And what the Ukrainians, now this is what he said, so pinch of salt, he's a journalist. Yeah. Anyway, he seems to be a real one, though. They would force the general public into the basements of these buildings.
Yeah, that was Murad Gazdiev.
And then so you've got innocent civilians in the basement, and then they would set up combat positions in the building at the top. And so when they get hit, they can say the Russians are targeting civilians. And it's that sort of – it's not cricket, you know, that chicanery that's going on. It's like, really?
So far, the things that's been happening in Ukraine that is completely unreported, and most of the public won't exactly pay attention to it because it's war stuff. Human trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking for biolab experiment. Lots of guns being given to the population. So there's a second-grade gang-style militia roaming all over the place. Enough drugs to knock out Paris Hilton and in Lindsay Lohan for a lazy Sunday afternoon.
That's a lot.
So that's a lot. That's a lot of drugs. Because why? Because in war, soldiers need drugs, especially Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting a losing war. So there are lots of weapons, lots of drugs, lots of trafficking. At least 1.5 to 2 million people have been trafficked so far. At least.
Yeah, and you look at all the UK government, one of the weirdest sentences I've ever seen, not even just this year, but ever in human history. The UK government, if any refugees from the Ukraine would make it to England, they'll transport them to Rwanda. Now, if you know where Rwanda is,
thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of Africa, the continent, not the country, and it's also, no disrespect to the Rwandans, but it's not Dubai, if I can say it that way. Go ahead.
When I read that, I was having like Rhodesia flashback. I'm like, can you imagine these white people go to Rwanda and make a Rhodesia 2.0, and then they start hating them for it and decide to trash it?
Well,
like,
that's the thing. Most of the refugees, you say, oh, they're Ukrainians. Like, that's a very dark. Is that a black Russian? Like, they're not actually Caucasians. They're every other sort of thing. It's like, refugees from Africa. They put them in Finland, and then they complained that it was too Finnish. Like, well, yeah, it's Finland. They've been there for thousands of years.
From Africa who reach the Nordic lands because they have so much melanin in their system. Simply stepping outside for 5 minutes is pure frostbite for them.
Yeah, well, really, it's like, I'm from Kenya. Oh, the desert plain of so I'm going to put you in snow. Like, no one thought this through, did they?
Kenyans have some filthy rich black Arabs in there, but the remaining 99.9% people are utterly poor.
Yeah. It's basically I'll do a Canadian reference. It's putting the Inuit in Arizona.
Oh God.
It's like they may feel
the
it.
whole Russian thing, Ukraine thing, will be on a very slow burn. You guys can totally ignore it. It won't exactly be making sense for now. Most of the things will be happening behind the scenes. So, like I said, we just need to see if it's dragging on, because the sad thing that just happened is it is a breadbasket, and Europe is going to suffer. Europe is already suffering. I mean, yes. Germans were like, "No, we're not gonna use your." Whoa! I think we're gonna use your gas. Yeah.
But we're gonna charge through the dash hound for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like, now, would you say? Here's a question for you, Raz. You don't see it like it's not the Vietnam model like they were in Afghanistan and Iraq, where they just want an endless war so they can just churn out money for the military complex.
The military industry will churn out money regardless. But Vietnam and Afghanistan had resource to pillage. What are you going to pillage from Ukraine? Sunflower oil? Ukraine is completely different, however. Ukraine is coming right in between something called a reset. A reset comes out, food problem, breadbasket getting taken down, food production getting burnt, farms getting burnt, food prices skyrocketing. So Raytheon and the rest of the military-industrial complex are making a packet. They love it. But the military-industrial complex would always make money because everyone needs their weapon.
Yeah. And also, one of the chief products from the Ukraine is money laundering. Look, I mean, how can I think it's Nancy Pelosi, the Biden family, John Kerry. Oh, and there was 4. All the kids have big executive jobs in the Ukraine. And like the criminality of the Ukraine is staggering. Like, what is going on there? Is it
everything?
It's everything. So there's money laundering, everything else like that. There's an idea putting forward that how Putin's fighting the New World Order, and in a kind of way he is, because he's kinda. It's an Australian legal word.
It's like he has a long history of removing oligarchs and putting his oligarchs. He has a long history of doing that. Everyone knows Putin for that. He always put his guys in there. He will remove one, but he will put another one in there.
So that's all governments accounted for then?
Yeah. So did you know, what do you call an oligarch that lives in America? An entrepreneur.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's a bit like when immigrants, go somewhere else. We call them expats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people are upset that Elon Musk has bought Twitter, and it's like, how dare you? An African American is doing well, and you bigots have to trash him.
There was this lady called Selena Gomez or whatever. Wait, that's an actress. Yes. Some Hispanic lady was going on a tirade about almost everything. I don't know what was going on. Probably she was trying to vent some.
Probably had a new movie coming up.
No. She looks like one of those blue check mark, 2 kilos of makeup worth on her face, type of alternate right.
It wasn't Selena Gomez herself, Cortek. It was someone similar. The name.
Yes. Yeah. My brain did register that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, you had a starting point. It wasn't Selena herself. She, from what I've seen, she seems to be kind of sane. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Once again, that legal Australian legal term,
they got a
kinda.
new thing to promote.
Yeah. It's not her, Cortek. Let it go. There's more than one Hispanic woman on the planet. Have you noticed that?
All right, fine.
Yeah, accept and move on. Bruce, You've been trying to comments from the super coach. Wow.
Well, I just got to say that update on the Ukraine from Raz exceeded my wildest expectations. Frankly, I didn't think I prepared for that question.
Yeah, I know, because you were stunned silence. It's like, oh, Bruce has got an idea. I'll just ask about the Ukraine. And Raz is like, now is the time. Time to step up and go for it.
No, I actually pay attention. The only news I watch is like 20 minutes of Russia Today. That's it. Well, that's the only thing I watch.
The ironic thing, if it is ironic, is you're the closest person to that area on the planet.
Yeah, same time.
On this call. Cortek and I are way too far away, and I think you're slightly closer than Bruce is. And
Mauritius is extremely friendly with India. We buy a lot of stuff, and India is extremely friendly with Russia. That makes us a bit of a mutual. So a lot of Ukrainian refugees are actually here. A lot of them.
The Australian government announced in the last couple of weeks that they've got a trade deal with India as well. Finally, it's been going for a while. And it'll be interesting to see, are they going to eventually leave China, because they're kind of wacky, and India is probably more of a better bet.
And when it comes to that, there is this guy you guys want to pay attention to. His name is Alexander Dugin or something. He speaks of a Novo Russia, a sort of Russia will be the next center, separate from the European one, the next big hub. And we're seeing new lines being drawn on the sand here. India, China, Russia is going somewhere else. I mean, India and China are putting their hatred away. I mean, what's happening here? These guys have been fighting like cats and dogs for like decades now. India has an entire squad dedicated to fighting Chinese people. That's their only goal.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is maybe they decided, like, okay, you take that side and we'll take this side, and we'll leave each other alone and we can prosper because the world's big enough. Now
that they're going to start buying from Russia, India is going to start paying way less. China's going to start paying way less because they're going to pay in rubles. And ruble is backed by gold. The whole place has just changed completely.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. People realize how massive this is.
Well, it's like, I joked about it, but it's based in fact, where like Facebook has left, OnlyFans has left, everyone's ostracizing Russia, and you know what the West is like. Yeah, Pornhub and everything else like that. Interesting that you bring that up. No. But my point is basically they're turning Russia into a Garden of Eden, because all the decadent West has been removed. Like McDonald's has been removed and everything else. Like, wait, so the Russians getting all this trash on the internet and they're going to eat real food? Like, oh, this sounds awesome.
So prices are going up. Mask mandate started getting relaxed. The lockdown started getting relaxed. People started getting outside. Cost of living is going higher. And Russia has been banned from Netflix. And Netflix goes, I just lost 77 million people. What do you think was going to happen, Netflix?
Yeah, they lost how many billions of dollars? Interesting enough, it came out today here in Australia. Our cost of living has gone up by 5.8%, or nearly 6%, and it hasn't done a jump like that since we brought in the GST, which was 2000.
It will be incremental.
So they're talking about interest rates hike in June when the Reserve Bank sits, and that's our central bank. Huzzah!
Yeah. So Netflix is like, what's happening? The only reason Netflix had a boost was because of the 2020 lockdown.
They can't everyone start was to piss and moan about people sharing passwords if the content isn't great, isn't just thin. You know, everyone's watched Netflix about twice now. It's time to rub our eyes and get outside again.
As I don't know if I've mentioned this gentleman, Elon Musk. It's a pathetic joke, but anyway, Elon's brother, yes, Elon's good twin. Elon was basically being a bit of a shit stirrer as well, and it's like Netflix, we've lost all this money, and Elon's tweeted back, yeah, because no one wants to watch your woke crap anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is woke crap. It is. There's a lot of woke crap in there.
Oh, and it's not just the wokeness; it's just the quality of it is utter shite. I mean, I've seen. Yeah, I'd rather watch 3-year-olds finger paint.
And if you watch, if you watch a couple of shows and don't really mean it, they'll just get you with the algorithms, and you'll just get fed all that stuff over and over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's some. Do you want to talk about Disney for a second? How there's videos of the executive level pointing out they're pushing all this LGBTQPC+3 nonsense, not having a go at the homosexual community. Hello, you beautiful people. But they're pushing all this thing onto the kids, and people are leaving Disney Plus in droves. At the same time, you've got DeSantis going, you know that tax thing? We're revoking it now. You have to pay.
Good.
Yeah, I mean they've got enough money that they can. I mean, apparently they've got the biggest or the second biggest fleet of boats in the world. I'm like, wow, imagine they could make movies. But they're taking a hit as well because people are. If you cater to 5% of the population constantly, the other 95% aren't going to watch it. Now, this you can have a level of tolerance. It's like, oh, look, there's a character that's well written. He happens to be gay and he has a husband. That's awesome. But if everything you watch, it's like I'm a transgender penguin and identify as a 1983 roundabout.
Yeah. Like, is it the next step of following on from 2019's trend of having movies with only women in it to try and make money off that whole?
I tell you,
or is it it feels a little bit.
When it comes to movies right now, we have two choices: Sonic, and we have the new Fantastic Beasts Harry Potter crap. So, guess which one people went to watch?
Well, actually, I'm just going to say hello. We've been joined by Pony and my cat. It's an animal affair. My cat is yelling at me. So, Pony, say hello.
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 Yo. Am I coming through okay?
Sure.
Kit Kat?
What were we talking about?
Go on. No, Bruce was going to say something. Pony came on.
I was going to tell.
Sorry, continue.
I was going to tell Cortek that I'm transitioning to transparent, and my pronouns are who and where.
I can't, but Bruce, I can't see that happening. See, I've added to the joke. Bruce has said that a couple of times. I laughed twice, and then the third time he complained. But that was just off the cuff. I add that to it. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. There you go. All
so
right,
we'll go ahead.
I'm gonna fold off here. I got to go to bed, guys. Nice talking to you.
Well, thank you for joining us as always.
Bye-bye.
See you next week. As Bruce hands the baton to Pones, another Victorian, which is a reference that no one else knows what I'm talking about. But how are you, Pony? You got any code, or you just feel like a bit of a chinwag, or you're reaching out because you feel alone in your concrete box?
I'm pretty lonely.
Oh, okay.
There's a little bit of code. Basically, earthquake code. I'd have to develop it a bit more, but we'll see.
Well, while you do instant research, we can talk about there's the earth changes with all the stuff we're talking about as well. There is earth changes where earthquakes are going nuts. What's happening in space weather? The magnetic field around the planet's weakened. Are we getting cosmic rays?
There's an eclipse, partial eclipse, April 30th, and then a full eclipse May 16th, I think.
Yeah, interesting. April is the 30th of April. That's the last day of April, isn't it? Anyone?
You
can't remember your nursery rhymes. November has the 30th. My point is, it is 6 months away from October 31st, and so technically, the Southern Hemisphere is having its Halloween on that date. Okay. Did you know that? Like, it's Beltane in the north, and it's Halloween here. But how we celebrate the winter solstice and call it Christmas in Australia, and have a roast beef in 43-degree heat.
Summer solstice.
Yeah, it's the summer solstice here. It's the white man and it's supremacy, and so it's all the European holidays. But yeah, the end of April is actually the Southern Hemisphere's Halloween.
I didn't think we ever really did Halloween.
No, well, no. In the last 2 decades, it's got very popular in October. So we're actually following the Northern Hemisphere with that. I don't have kids turning up on my door. Maybe it's the burning cross on the front lawn and the shotgun at the window. But yes, Halloween has gotten bigger. Even you don't get that many kids wandering the streets, strangely enough. But a lot of pubs and clubs, they have Halloween themed nights, and like here in Australia, when we're celebrating the summer solstice, they spray fake snow on their windows.
Makes sense. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Halloween never really clicked. It just seemed like another thing to, kids love it. It's another Christmas. Kids love it because they get free lollies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kids won't, talk about the heinous crimes of being lied to their whole life for presents because they might get more presents next year. They wouldn't want to rock that part.
Well, I mean, the commercialization of Halloween anywhere is basically, it's all about the candy instead of communing with the dead or whatever it is. Like I think in Mexico or Latin country, it's Day of the Dead, but they actually acknowledge the spiritual side of it because of.
I'm not sure why we're not doing what we do with everything else, and just it's probably some dentist society pushing Halloween worldwide.
Sure, yeah, right. Yeah. It's a dental
dentist.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cortek has discovered the chink in the New World Order's armor. It's the dental association that is controlling the planet.
Always the dentist.
Yeah, Monty Python did a whole TV show in the Flying Circus about the British Dental Association. It's quite funny for the time.
Can't handle the tooth.
Yeah.
Handle the tooth.
Mao Mao. Oh, hang on, I've got to go let my cat out because, I said meow meow and then from the kitchen, meow. So have you done your research with earthquakes, Pones?
Oh, no, I'm laying in bed, mate. So the code would be, there was a story about Mars quakes. Also, there was talk a couple of weeks back about everyone gets free crack pipes. So I was thinking San Andreas crack fault line. Just recently, there was a fair amount of activity coming from the sun, and we used to do a thing where it was like a 10-day period between the energy transferring, hypothetically, can't prove it. Basically, in the next few days, there should be some activity to do with quakes. I'm assuming based on that theory alone, throw in a bit of the Mars code and the crack stuff. I don't know, just earthquake time.
A lot of that sun stuff towards the planet, when it comes through, just, comes through as winds that just swirl around and don't have a particular direction and stuff like that. Is that what you mean? Like watching the solar hams and sometimes spots when they come through and they are actually Earth facing. You get a lot of that kind of swirly weather.
There was a lot of flare activity last week and it was like crackling. So I don't know I think you can sense that type of stuff, man.
Yeah, if it's affecting the magnetics, there'll be people do in a broad sense. People do feel the solar flares. The thing is with the sun, it seems to have gotten drunk and picked up a revolver, and is just firing off all these flares. And none actually pointed at the Earth, but if they skim the Earth like the backwash, and it has effects on the planet.
The idea is that the Earth is much like a child. It's growing and it's watered by the sun. and this is all theory. Inside the Earth, there's something that captures, say, the X-rays of the sun, so the sun can see through, goes through everything, but this plasma blob or something in the center of the Earth captures it and it grows. And so if the Earth grows, we're going to get give earthquakes. And so when we have activity, it's like it's watering the Earth. So we're going to get a growth spurt in a couple of days, based off old theories. So
if the planet is like a capacitor, it gains energy, and then it fills up and it has to discharge. And sometimes you get ground lightning where the lightning comes up from the ground, and the tectonic plates, because of the pressure, would move that as well. Even there's lightning around when there's earthquakes. It's kind of fascinating. If you've ever seen volcano lightning, it's just awe-inspiring.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. Freaky as anything, but it is amazing. Of like the colors, children, the colors, and it's just the volcano. I'm just releasing some tension, and it's like, wow, it's like Ghostbusters at the end of Ghostbusters.
Who's the guy who did the song to it? Something
Ray
strange.
Parker.
It's like a Ray Parker Jr. video clip.
Yeah. The Stay Puft Man is coming for you. Yeah. And I think there's a pattern to the earthquakes, which I think there has to be one on the planet, one every 90 days or 180 days. It is kind of fascinating. It's not in the same spot, obviously, because people would figure that out. But there seems to be a pattern / clockwork from quakes.
You could pick a 7 once a month, basically, but I want to get the locale. I want to try to nail it down and see if this is one of these big city ones finally, or just something off in the ocean.
Yeah. Or a man-made one like Fukushima.
Oh yeah, the tsunami bomb that's been getting talk, and Putin's Satan missiles, and so
yeah, it's a fun part looking at the conspiracy world, where some people are sane, other people are like, I need more, because all our theories came true in April 2020.
Yeah, that was ages ago. They did use the tsunami bomb terminology. I remember making some thing about it in one of those cop shows that were always on TV at the time, NCIS or something like that. And they're talking about some crazy professor who, always every university's got their fringe professors. He talks about crazy stuff like fluoridated water, tsunami bombs, and
chemtrails.
Chemtrails.
Well,
that was it. Yeah.
The idea for that bomb is it's just basically a drone missile that swims really, really, really slow, bottom of the ocean, until it's operated and goes after its target. And apparently what they sold, the wave generated by this so-called tsunami bomb is higher than an Empire State Building. So that's what they sold. I don't necessarily believe it, but
you could just put it down the bottom of that shelf off to the east, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, if you remember the first Superman movie starring Christopher Reeves, like the plot of that is Lex Luthor buys all this land on the east side of the Rocky Mountains, or the San Andreas Fault, and there's like the US military is testing 2 missiles, and they get hijacked and go different ways, and there's one supposed to land in the fault, causing an earthquake and pushing everything of the coastline of California into the sea, and making Lex Luthor a massive landowner because he's bought all the crappy land. And this is 1979. I mean, it's from a comic book, so exactly, Mr. Smoker. Speaking in,
and then they remade it for Cape Rock.
Yeah, and and it's always been a fault. Sure, David Morton's into that. Well, he lives in Hermosa Beach in Los Angeles in California, so he's got a story or two about all the earthquakes, and he could predict them by either remote viewing or just knowing the code or the knowledge of it. But however, I think 2005 something changed, and everyone's predictions. Nostradamus, his prediction stopped around 2005, and I think Edgar Casey as well has changed, and so a lot of pre-prophecies, or however you want to say it, has stopped.
The sleeping prophet.
Yeah.
He used to lay upon a book when he slept and then absorb that book as if he was reading it.
Yeah, so Matrix.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, he was a medical man, a healer, and he did like 12,000 readings, and I think 5 of them were about prophecy. All the others were actually helping out people, and people remembering it's like, oh, he said, oh, Atlantis are coming back, blah blah blah. But the point is, somewhere in the time stream in the last 10, 15 years, someone's playing funny buggers.
I've read though, or I've visited that website of his where the archives are, and you can do search words, and there is a UFO silver column in there about that particular object or something from the 40s.
Nice. Oh, cool.
Something to do about a UFO.
Thank you, Pony, for rocking up in the final moments. I think getting you on the field, we've won, and the other team can go home and cry because we've kicked the goals at chess. We're coming to the end of Planet Collingwood here on Revolution Radio Studio A. I'm off to watch Zulu starring Michael Caine because I can. So the next 2 hours are your moment of zen, and then I can't remember who's up after that. I do apologise. But thank you to Bruce MacDonald as well as Cortek and Raz. While we have 10 seconds each, any final thoughts? One sentence. Go ahead, Cortek.
No, just relax. Just relax, people.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, relax. Cortek.
Yep, relax.
Relax. And Parents.
Chillax.
Yeah, chillax. Oh, yeah. I see you relax and I'll chillax you. You've been listening to Revolution Radio, Studio A, Planet Collingwood. We'll be back in 6 days and 22 hours. I love you from afar, and let's keep it that way. See you soon, everyone. Bye.